Oh man, you guys, it's the final part of Globs of Doom, and I don't know what to say. I'd like to thank everyone who watched for watching this, even though you don't. I don't know why you're watching it. I mean, I like it. You should like it too. You should like it. There are a lot of things. So look at how much better this slide is than the Retroville slide. This is insane. Look at how much better this slide looks. Why couldn't the Retroville slide have been this snazzy? Like, holy shit, look at all this. This slide also has some of my favorite music in the game, but we'll listen to that the second time. But look at that sweet wind vortex around the whole thing. God, why is there so much effort put into this slide, the aesthetics of this slide? It just kicks ass. Anyway, I love this game, even though it's not good, and I hope you've enjoyed it too. It's a really good time. I had a good time playing the whole NIcktoons series. I know I didn't play every NIcktoons game, don't you dare point that out. I played every one worth playing. I don't want to hear shit about how I didn't play Battle for Volcano Island or the original Unite on consoles.
What? You live here? The beat's living in a bucket.
Come on, we gotta find your Bulba.
Jeb who what?
My mentor. He may know where the piece is hidden.
May the juju be with you!
It feels a little surreal to be done with the Nicktoons series. I mean, I guess, you know, like, it wasn't exactly a huge project or anything like that, but still, you know, playing 3 games from the same series all in a row. It's a little more than I usually do, I think. There was a DS version of Globs of Doom for clarity. It was a platformer made by Natsume. It looks alright. Not really the kind of thing I'd care to share, but looks okay. There was also a beat-em-up on the DS, based on Toybots, like a straight-up old-school beat-em-up. It was kinda neat. Again, not the kind of thing I'd really like to share, I think, but it's pretty cool. As for the series as a whole, I think to most people it's probably really unremarkable. Like, I think most people revisiting it might be a bit disappointed. Personally, I think that Attack of the Toybots has great game design, and it deserves to be remembered fondly. But it's probably too hard for the target audience and any adults revisiting it just because they liked it as a kid. But I think it has great game design, and it's definitely the strongest game in the Nicktoons series. But as a whole, I could see it being viewed as sort of generic and underwhelming. That being said, there's clearly a lot of love put into these games, put into their graphics, put into their stories, and basically everything except for the game design in some places. Like in Globs of Doom. Globs of Doom's game design is pretty bad. But we're also not really to the weird shit in Globs of Doom yet. You know, we're not quite there. Sure, the story hasn't exactly been normal so far, but we're not there yet. We're not to the good weird shit. That comes at the end of this video. I'd like to point out that the TAC world is also quite pretty. You know, I don't really care about the TAC cartoon very much. You might say this is kind of a generic jungle aesthetic, but it's a really pretty generic jungle aesthetic. Like, holy shit, is this pretty looking. No, I'm not just stalling by talking about the series as a whole because I have nothing to say about the TAC world, and I've exhausted my commentary during all the previous worlds. Why would you think that? That's not what's happening here. Alright, I'm just being sentimental, that's the word. I'm just being sentimental that we played through the Nicktoons series together. I'm definitely not stalling because I don't know what to say about the final world in the game. That's not what's happening here. You know, that might be something that lesser people with smaller brains might do, but not me. No, that's not what we're doing. You know, we're just taking our time to soak in the Nicktoons experience. That's actually a really cute animation. To take in the Nicktoons experience and how TAC staff kind of looks like a cotton swab. You know? Just soak it all in. We could talk about THQ's publishing history and how even though they published a lot of games in really rapid succession, they actually really cared about what they were doing. It's easy to mistake them for being greedy, but you know, you read any interviews with THQ, it's very clear THQ cared a lot about video games. Even these ones, even Globs of Doom. You know, THQ was going to publish Devil's Third. That's kind of weird to me. I mean, they published some adult games, you know. But Devil's Third, of all things, that feels very, very out there. But THQ, they loved video games. They just loved them. And it's kind of sad that they're gone, but at least their legacy lives on in THQ Nordic. None of the people from THQ work for THQ Nordic, but you know, 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 but you know. Alright everyone, welcome to the last stage of Tax World and the last stage of the game. You may have noticed Tax World only has 2 stages instead of 3, and that's because the stage after this one is the final boss. This is also the last level you'll hear me talk over because I really like the final boss music, and the final boss and the cutscenes around the final boss is where shit gets really weird. I like the way this level opens up, and you might be thinking, oh man, it's more foresty jungle shit, but no, it's actually ruined temple aesthetic this time around, with more cliffs included, you know? Not just a ruined temple, but there's a lot more cliffs involved. It's just a really nice place. Looks pleasant. This level in particular, by the way, is what Globs of Doom might be like if it weren't so mindless. This level is significantly less mindless than most. There's actual puzzles in it and some genuine platforming. Nothing outstanding, but you know, good first level tutorial material. So if this were the first level, you know, you could fool me into thinking this game would not be mindless, is what I'm saying. If this were the first level, I might think this game is not mindless, but it is. And I'm not really sure whether I consider that a good thing about this level. It makes the level more interesting to talk about. But it's not like the design in previous worlds was building up to this or anything. It wasn't building up to anything. Aside from this level, you could play any of the levels pretty much in any order, and you couldn't really tell the difference. But in this level, there's things like slightly resembling challenge and puzzle solving. Very slightly. This level also makes me wonder what that one game based on the Tak cartoon was like. I think it's called Tak Guardians of Gross. It's not part of the original Tak video game trilogy, but I wonder what it's like. It was made by Blitz Games, and it looks way shittier than the original Tak video game trilogy, but I'm still curious. Still curious what that's like, because Blitz Games generally makes high-quality stuff. Generally made high-quality stuff. I'm sorry, they're dead now. But even though they're dead, I will defend Sneak King until the day I die. I will always defend Sneak King every day of my life. Every day of my life I have arguments on the internet about Sneak King, telling people Sneak King is great, extolling the virtues of Sneak King. Nobody listens, but, nobody said it was easy or satisfying work. It's thankless work, but somebody has to do it. Somebody has to. It's a niche that needs filled in the world. I don't even think that's how you pronounce that word. I don't think you pronounce it niche. Anyway, speaking of this level being set apart a bit from the others, there's a gag involving Patrick up here, which is kind of out of place considering how few in-level cutscene gags there are in this game. The gag also looks really bad and doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's nice that they tried. It's nice that they tried to put that in there. I'm not sure who it's for. I just think it's weird. Maybe the idea is just that it was weird. Man, this level is way prettier than I remember. In general, this game always seems to be prettier than I remember. Like I said, it wasn't released on HD consoles, but it has some HD quality textures in it. Which, I guess, this did come out in 2008, so that makes sense. It also reminds me how garbage the Activision Nicktoons games look in comparison, which is really depressing. Because the people who made the Nicktoons series clearly cared a lot about the shows, and the Activision Nicktoons games are just straight garbage. I mean, they're not Nicktoons games, they're SpongeBob games, but it's really the same principle. They clearly didn't care about SpongeBob, it's just depressing. This level has so much variety, that's the word, variety and scenery in it. It's pretty sweet in here. And there's cute gimmicks like draining the goo pool in this room using switches and platforming involving switches. It's just there's more thinking involved. But like I said, at this point, I think I said earlier, at this point in the game, I just feel like this was invading on my chill time. Because this is the very last level before the final boss. So you get here, you've accepted the game as mindless, and then there's some slightly not mindless stuff in it. And you're like, man, what is this doing here? I didn't come here to play something that isn't mindless. There are so many other games I could have chosen if I wanted to play something that wasn't mindless. Yeah, see, we can drain the goo pool in here using the switch. It's just cute, and I like this spike trap that we can use to kill enemies. It's just cute. It's weird how much more effort went into the design of this level. Granted, this is still very small amounts of game design effort, but it's more effort than went into the game design of every other level. And it's weird that they chose this level in particular. Is it because it's the last one? Is that why? Or were they just inspired by the ruined temple aesthetic? I could see either being the case. Do you guys think you would have enjoyed this as a kid? I mean, I'm enjoying it as an adult, but that's because I can appreciate the scenery, the weird story, and it's just chill to play, it's relaxing, but do you think you guys would have appreciated this as kids? Like, would you have thought this was a good game as a kid? I think I probably would have, because first of all, it's co-op. And secondly, it's pretty easy and I was a giant pussy. So when I was younger, this probably, I mean, I was a bit older by the time this came out, but if this came out when I was like 5, 7, or 10, I probably would have really liked this because I was a pussy, and this probably would have been one of the few games I actually finished. But I don't remember any advertising for Globs of Doom, is the weird thing. I remember seeing advertisements for Nicktoons Unite and Battle for Volcano Island, but not Globs of Doom. I remember being vaguely aware of Toy Bots, but just Globs of Doom, never noticed its existence until I was an adult. And I'm like, oh hey, they made another one. I mean, I'm very glad I did eventually become aware of its existence, because I quite like it. I don't think it's good. I was disappointed in it at first, but, its love won me over. And the music. Did any of you, play the Nicktoons series when you were kids? Because I can't seem to find people that did. I found a few people, but not like a lot, which is surprising, because I was under the impression that at least the first couple of games sold really well, and a lot of kids played them. I wouldn't be surprised if not a lot of kids played Globs of Doom in particular. I just kind of wonder if anyone's nostalgic for these games. People are nostalgic for a lot of things. And I just want to know if anyone's nostalgic for these games, because I can't seem to find anyone who is. And that just seems so bizarre to me. People are nostalgic for the SpongeBob games, even Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. Is this lava? Is this lava or goo? I think it's lava, not goo this time. It really doesn't make a difference, I suppose, because both would end the same way, wouldn't they? I like seeing games and platformers targeted at kids still coming out where possible. Like, I hope that in the near future, kids will be nostalgic for Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures, not the show, the games. And I hope they'll be nostalgic for things like Disney Infinity and Skylanders, too. Because, you know, those games are targeted toward kids, and I want kids to remember them fondly the same way I remember games I had as a kid fondly. Some of those games are really shitty, you know, and just because I remember them fondly doesn't... Look, this puzzle requires thinking. This one requires thinking. It's really, really shocking. But anyway, as I was saying, you know, I may remember the games fondly. I know some of them are shit. But remembering them fondly, even though they are shit, that's part of the fun. You know? Now, when you start confusing nostalgia for thinking something is actually good, that's less amusing. But if you just enjoy something in spite of it being shitty, that's cool. I'm enjoying this in spite of the gameplay being really shitty. Except for those last two Switch puzzles and this upcoming Switch puzzle, which are actual puzzles. And they don't really belong in this game. Because like I said, I didn't come here to think... Like, seriously, the first time I played this level, I was like, what is this shit? And I just started randomly pressing switches until I got the desired result. Because I didn't come here to think. I didn't come here to do thinking. I came here to mindlessly mash the attack buttons until everything went away. And listen to cool music. That's it. You know, it's not often I complain about something not being mindless, but it just comes across as weird in the middle of the game, like, sorry, at the end of the game like this, after hours of mindless... I don't know if it's been hours, maybe like an hour and a half. I didn't really have a timer. We're nearing the end of the final level now, and I'm not sure what else there is to say, except it's been weird, and it's only about to get weirder. And I hope you enjoyed listening to someone who actually appreciates these games, because I imagine most adults who play these games won't have much appreciation for them or much to say about them. But I think they were worth it. You probably shouldn't play Globs of Doom yourself, but you know, I hope I convinced at least one person that Attack of the Toybots utterly kicks ass, because it does. Oh, this room up here is really neat. It has statues that blow the platforms and will blow you off of them if you walk across them at the wrong time. It's a very easy hazard to... As I was saying, it's a very easy hazard to avoid, but it looks really cool, and it's well telegraphed, and there's no excuse for getting hit by it twice in a row like I just did. There's no excuse for that. I'd like to someday see the Nicktoons series revisited as a platforming / beat-em-up series, an adventure game series, if you will. I don't know how likely that is to happen because I don't know how strong Nickelodeon's brand is right now as a whole. I don't know if they have as many hit shows going around. I like some of their new shows, but I don't know if they have the same huge appeal that the shows we're seeing here did. Aside from Tak was very poorly received. It was a very poorly received cartoon, and I don't think anybody cared about it. I really don't. I have yet to find one person to say positive thing about Tak. Not the game series, the show. A lot of people like the game series. Then again, not a lot of people say positive things about Fanboy and Chum Chum and Robot and Monster either, but I also liked those quite a lot. You know, I said the level's almost over, but here we are doing an elevator combat section. You know? This is a beat-em-up, though, so an elevator combat section is mandatory. It's absolutely mandatory. You have to include these. I'm sinking through the platform, which is concerning. Whenever I see an elevator in an ancient temple setting now, though, I get reminded of the terrible Young Justice beat-em-up action RPG, where there was also an elevator and a temple. God, that was a really bad game. I came so close to Let's Playing that too, because I really, really wanted to show how incompetently made it was. I beat it no less than 3 times also. No less than 3 times. Like, some parts of it clearly had good ideas, but it was just so awful on the whole, and the license deserves much better than that. It deserves way better than that. It's just shocking how strange that game is. Strange how shocking Little Orbit is as a game publisher. They don't publish very many nice things. And the nice things they do publish, it comes across like, you know, the developer was fighting to make it nice in spite of Little Orbit not giving them enough time or money. So it's just kind of hard to fathom how Little Orbit got the license to Young Justice Legacy and then passed it off to Freedom Factory to make.
Hey, stop that! No greasy fingerprints on the screen!
SpongeBob, what are we gonna do? The glob thingy's nearly here! Square yellow creature of happiness. You are unlike anyone I have met before.
How true.
I have grown tired of my gooey life. And for the first moment since the beginning of time, I, Globulus Maximus, choose to become something else. Someone else, actually. I choose to become you.
Me?
Yes, you. I like you. You are good. You are happy. You are wholesome. Like homemade bread.
Sheesh! And I thought this Maximus guy was smart.
No, there's already enough of me. Jimmy, have we got all the missing pieces?
Affirmative. Vessel of Portentia is fully operational.
Then it's time to chew bubblegum and blow!
And we're all out of bubble gum.
Hey, goo guy! You are gooing down!
Hey, Sparky. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Depends. If you're thinking evil thoughts
That we can capture Globulus Maximus?
and use him for our own future evil plans?
Now that's awfully tempting.
And you know what I like about being evil?
Heavy black eyeliner?
We always give in to temptation. Let's do it.
I don't want to be used for evil.
Is it just me? Or does anyone else feel sorry for the big fella?
Well, he did attempt to take over the places we call home.
Before I go, I want you to know something. Something important. I was created along with the beginning of the universe.
You mean during the Big Bang?
No, during the big sneeze.
You mean you're not evil then? You're a giant booger?
Then why are you trying to take over our worlds?
Well, how would you feel if you were born a booger? You'd be upset too.
No, I would be proud. Embrace your gooiness. It's what you are, or is it who you are? Well, I'm not quite sure, but it's not bad. Bad!
You're right, SpongeBob. I want to change my ways. But what's the point? Time, the very thing that created me, is slipping away.
Not if I can help it.
Oh, hardy har. Very funny, guys. I may be a booger, but... that's better.
Great, but what are we going to do?
I have an idea. I know what happens now.
Yeah, this is where all you evildoers retreat with your tails between your legs.
No! One of us has to pound their fist and say, "Curses foiled again!" Like this! Curses foiled again!
Oh, please.
Come here, little fella. I'm with you.
Well, I'm glad someone understands how to finish a story.
Curses!
Ouch!
Foiled again!
Thanks, Lobby Baby. Everything is safe at last.
What are you gonna do now that you're not evil?
My friends, you have taught me to be proud of who I am. And that is Sponge Glob.
Sponge Glob?
I will right the wrongs of my past and make amends throughout the universe. Goodbye.
If he was born a giant booger, that means something with a nose that big created him. And think how big you'd have to be to have that big a nose!
Old Hermit Crab, we couldn't have done it without you. We owe you a big
Hey, you think this is just like when time began? You know, like the beginning? Early on?
No, Patrick! Feels more like the end.